Okay, so we're going to make a tool holder for an offset boring bar here, or ID work. And this one looks like this one has the serrations, the notches on both sides. So the first thing that we want to do is orient this in the correct orientation. This is the face that is going to be up against the turret. So when this is mounted on the OD, this is the face that's going to be flush up against the turret. And the blue vector is the vector that is going to be normal to that, but we want it pointing the other way. So what we can do is we can just highlight this face and hit Align Z, and you'll see that it basically flips the model around. And looking at this, this red X vector should point toward the main spindle. And basically this is, we have the notches on both sides, so I believe that this holder can be mounted in the machine either pointing toward the main or toward the sub, like the tool. This is the tool mount position down here. Okay, so I had some messages popping up there. So the tool is going to be going toward the sub spindle by default. If you've watched any of the other videos, you can always take this holder and flip it 180 degrees while it's mounted on the turret inside of ESPRIT. The tool and everything will move with it, so it's not a big deal if you want to go the other way. We don't need to make one for the main, one for the sub. We just need to make one, so I'm going to pick this orientation so that every time I load this onto a turret, by default, it's just going to be pointing toward the sub. And then if I want to edit that, I could do that later. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and make my tool position. So what I want to do here is just come to Translate, and you can access Translate from the home and then pick one of them. This is going to be the Translate. I'm going to go ahead and move to and you can see where the highlight moves to the center selection of that face, of the bore on the face. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick that. And then what I want to do is flip this UVW around. So the first thing that I'm going to do is rotate this, and I'm going to pick Rotate UVW. And I'm going to rotate this about my y-axis. To keep this simple, I'm going to do this in 2 steps. So the first thing it's asking for is the rotation about u right down here. We're going to put in 0, and then for the y, we're going to put in 90, and then for the z, we'll put in 0. And what this does is it's going to give me a tool orientation in the correct orientation, so the tool will start here and move toward the sub. But what I want is I want my insert pointing up toward the turret. So now I'm going to rotate this again. I'm going to hit the rotate again and say 0, 0, 180 around the Z. So it flips so that the red is pointing upward. And at this point now, I can go ahead and create my holder adapter position, HA_1, and we can do TA_1. So you might want to choose like TA or HA sub, but since this can flip back and forth, I'm just going to use 1 so that if I flip it, I'm not thinking, oh, it's sub. So I'm just going to do TA and HA1. So this is done. At this point, I can save my tool holder here for a simulation solid. However, the reason that I don't want to do that yet is because I would prefer to change some of these colors. So we've got some orange and green and whatever this is, like a greenish blue. I'm going to change this all. So I'm going to go ahead and just right click and say select all, come to properties, and pick light gray. And properties is accessible under home, and then show hide properties, turn it on or off. If you've watched any other videos, we could use grouping propagation here, and that is accessible right at this icon here, propagation. If I click on this, I want to make sure that for my edge, I'm selected for opposite edges. And when I do that, if I hold my shift key down on the keyboard and I pick this edge, you can see it will grab that whole ribbon of material, and then I'm just going to hold the control key and add to the group this top face. I'm going to right click, I'm going to go ahead to the blue color and say OK a couple times. And now if I click elsewhere, we have a uniform looking tool holder. And you could do some other things. I could use that edge. I can grab like these edges, add this face, come over here and pick a different color of gray, maybe a dark gray. You know, a lot of these holders, they have the corrosion, you know, protection, so it's darker. But whatever, you can do whatever you want here. So at this point now, I'm going to go ahead and save this out. So I'll come to File, Save As. We're going to go to a holder file, GDML, and this is an EWS for turning, and I've got these VDI 40s all under this particular folder. I'm just going to put an underscore ID, and I will put sub here just so I know when I open it, it will default to the sub. And now we can start using this holder.